Hello team! It's been a while since I talked to you like this, I guess, and I don't know, I've just been feeling a lot. I've had a few realizations the past few weeks, or the past few days, and I want to capture them for myself, mostly, first and foremost, and because I feel like I'm going to forget them if I don't. And I don't want to forget them because they're very important to me. And so I'm going to be very precise this time, record them and talk about them. I have a few notes. I don't know if I'm going to look at them, but I have tea, Darjeeling. I also have colored hair. My hair is a color. It should be purple. I'll insert pictures of my purple hair, but somehow it turned green and blue and purple. I'm not mad, I like it. Makes me feel a little bit like a mermaid. I'm really excited. I want to go pink next, we'll see. Maybe I'll stay purple for another while. Anyways, this is mostly a talk about art, but also about writing and uni and moving out, which I want to keep vague because I don't really like oversharing anymore that much, because I noticed how I feel ashamed, but that's also going to be a topic. So yeah, but a realization that I've had for the past days, weeks, months is I had a really bad artist blog, and it started even before submitting my portfolios to art schools, which I did not get accepted at, as you might know from my sketchbook tour video. Whenever I did art, I felt guilty for some reason. And I don't really know where this guilt came from, but I noticed that it's something that I mostly had in my life for a lot of aspects of it, that I felt ashamed or guilty for things I couldn't really pinpoint. I didn't notice it was like shame or guilt until like a few months ago, I think. But yeah, somehow there was always this feeling of not getting better or not exploring as much as I should. Especially with the stress of having a portfolio to finish and people to impress with my art, that I felt really, really guilty for not giving it my best, even though I did give it the best I could give it at that time, if that makes sense. And yeah, but somehow I've been experimenting a lot with urban sketching. I've moved around a lot to different towns or cities and took pictures there, or just like noticed a general vibe and feeling and wanted to replicate that in my sketchbook, so I did that. You'll see that when I give you the sketchbook tour of the red sketchbook, which is very small, but it already has like all of my heart in it. I love it so much. But I've also been using colored pencils a lot, and the fascinating thing about colored pencils is it is traditional art, and I started out being a very passionate traditional artist when I was like younger. I'm still very young, but like when I really started being very serious about it, like basically around the time I started What If, writing it. Back when I started writing What If, really like 5 years ago, I did a lot of illustrations for it, and I just went away and like painted and sketched and colored and did stuff and experimented and tried to push myself with perspectives and anatomy and like backgrounds and stuff. And while I did that, I just listened to music and daydreamed about the story. And that was like one of my favorite things. And I did that too with Seelen a lot, or with Tallinn and Schnee. But with What If, it was just like something completely different. And just at the beginning of this week, I had a thing that I did. I started a colored pencil illustration, A3, with like some of the What If characters, and it was the exact same process as back then. And it was very organic, it just developed, it was fun. I sketched and drew and colored for like hours before having to go to ballet class, and then after returning and taking a shower and eating, I went straight back to drawing and just continued to draw and listened more to music and daydreamed, and it was the exact same thing. And the drawing also gives off the same vibe as my art back then. And it was one of the most fun illustrations I have done in a while, just because it felt so nostalgic. And then I realized that I didn't feel ashamed or guilty for drawing that, just because it was so much fun, and that is something that I felt went missing a lot. I took art a bit too seriously, even though it was still just a hobby. And I feel like the knowledge that I'm not going to go to art school yet. I still plan on going there. I will hopefully finish the bachelor that I signed up for now, because it sounds really interesting. It's more of a technical, theoretical, scientific approach to like art history and media science and music science, and that sounds really fun. I'm excited for that. But I feel like knowing that I don't have to do like practical art for uni, and I can just like keep it as a hobby for like 3 more years maybe, just feels very liberating, because I feel more free to drawing different things now. And I noticed that there are so many things that I haven't tried yet that I really want to try, like urban sketching, like more cartoonish art, like more not really graphic things, but more abstract things, more fantastical things. I really love fantastical art. I like mixing more realistic things with fantastical elements, which I'm not good at yet. But I like things like the artist Katie Rogers or Paper Fashion. I like her art a lot because not only does she create beautiful things, but she also sees the art around her in nature everywhere. She looks at a cloud or a flower and doesn't see it as a cloud or a flower, but just see a dancer in it, a little ballerina or little women dancing everywhere. And you can see in her process that she shares on Instagram how she works and how she perceives the world. And I want to train my eye to do the same kind of, because I find that really fascinating. So that's like one thing that I really, really want to get more into. And I feel like I've been watching a lot of Adam Duff videos because Chai recommended them to me, and he really talks about art and life in general in such a wise way, and it really enlightened me in like some ways. And he said that you should look not at your style but at your philosophy for art, like why you do art and what it is that really inspires you to do it. And that's what I want to look at, and I feel like he also said that you find that a lot in your favorite artists. That's kind of something that I want to dig more into, but I also want to do that organically, because organic growth is what is the main topic, you know. Growth is always good, but sometimes I tried to force growth, especially for the portfolio, and it didn't work at all. And this is why I felt ashamed or guilty or bad, and ultimately didn't get in because it felt forced. And also I didn't really manage to grow because it wasn't the space at that time. I wasn't in a space to grow, I feel like. And now I'm just trying to maybe, like, you know, I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna develop so much now. I'm just gonna be like, you know, I'm just gonna try whatever I want to try. If I want to go big, I'm gonna go big. If I want to stay small, I'm gonna stay small. If I want to go detailed, I want to go detailed. If I want to like just block shapes, I'm gonna just block shapes. And there's no urgency in any of it. And I can just do whatever I want again and just have fun doing it. And I think for a few years, or maybe just months, maybe just a year, I created art for the end result, when really what I always enjoyed most about art was the process. And now I feel like I'm getting back into enjoying the process of art and not just the beautiful thing that I created in the end. And that is what I'm so excited for, because I missed that feeling without even knowing that I didn't have it anymore. And I feel like that's something that I get with traditional art a lot more than with digital art. I feel like in digital art it's more like a subconscious thing and just more of a tedious chore sometimes, even though the end result ultimately looks better to me. You know, and also like getting back into writing. My writing helped me develop my art so much. I would consider that now. I feel like I noticed that just a few months ago, or like over the last few months, is that I am almost as much a writer as I am an artist. I am both a hobby writer and artist, but I wouldn't ever want to give up either. And it relates so closely to each other because I write stories and I draw them. And I feel like, I don't know, I really, really want to publish a book sometimes, or a story, just in general. I want to get my writing out there, maybe even more than my art, because I feel like, I don't know, in my brain, publishing a proper book is harder than just like throwing your art out on the internet, which I'm already doing so. But yeah, and writing has been really, really fun. I feel like I've grown a lot through my writing, and I notice a lot about writing, about myself when I write, you know, because I write things that my characters feel, and I'm like, you know, I feel that in a different way, but I feel it. And I feel like that's really great. It's very therapeutical writing, and I want to get back into it. I mean, like, I've written a lot, but like I want to like keep doing that. I want to keep the progress, keep the routine. And then moving out is the last thing, which also kind of ties into all of this, because like I feel like a lot of things that I just said come from my anxiety. I don't have a diagnosed anxiety disorder, but I do get anxiety attacks or periods where I'm constantly so anxious that I feel my heart racing. Or, you know, I meditate a lot at the moment, and there were times where my heart just felt very warm and tense, and like it was like burning, you know, because I was nervous for no reason at all, or for like a more general reason. And when I meditated, I could feel my entire body just calm down, except for this burning spot in my heart. And that is like, I have that for like weeks sometimes. And then sometimes there's like the panic attacks that I have, where I just suddenly stop breathing. You know, that also happens. But I also have, you know, there's like a fight or flight syndrome, but I think people also say fight, flight or freeze syndrome, you know. I get very anxious about organizational things that involve asking people about things where I could get negative responses. You know, for example, I found a shared flat, a room in a shared flat last week, at the end of last week, at the beginning of this week, and I had to contact the landlord, I had to contact my roommates, I had to ask like different people about different things, like how am I gonna continue with that, what's gonna happen. When I had to do that prior, you know, I've always had to, you know, there were always like organizational things that you had to do where you had to contact people for something. And I always felt so scared of these emails or phone calls or things that I would just like push them away and do them later, and then just ultimately forget about them, and then the result would be worse, and I would become more anxious. But this time I felt like the tiny bits like, oh, I need to do that now, haha, I hate things like this because anxiety. And I still did them immediately as soon as I could. And then I noticed that sometimes when I expected a negative response, I always got a very positive or neutral response. And then I did things like, I was like just about to like ask something, and then I asked, and I was like, okay, now hit me with the truth. And the people were just like, you know, this and that. And I was like, oh, okay. And then afterwards I was like, wow, that was surprisingly easy. And I didn't give the anxiety or the anxiousness a chance to develop into anxiety. You know what I mean? I never gave it a chance to grow. And then in the end I had that ultimate realization, you know, that sentence in my head that was just like, you know what? Whatever happens, I'm gonna be fine. And that is such a rare sentence for me to have in my head, because like logically you know you're gonna be fine, but your brain's just like, what if you're not gonna be fine? And then you're like, oh, what if I'm not gonna be fine? But this time my brain, you know, usually it's other people that tell me you're gonna be fine, and then I'm like, yeah, obviously I'm gonna be fine, and then my brain is, no, you're not. But this time it was just me alone drying off some glasses at work yesterday and my brain just went, "You're gonna be fine." And I was like, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna be fine. And it's one of the best things to have ever felt in my entire life. Just the reassurance that you're gonna be fine. And that is what I want to keep. Art, I can do what I want with that. I'm not less of an artist because I'm not going to art school yet. And I'm gonna be fine. And that is, I think, why I'm recording this video. So yeah, thank you for watching this tiny talk. I hope it wasn't too long. Yeah, I hope you can have that realization too, that you're gonna be fine, no matter where you are at. If you're in a place where you have support, you're gonna be fine. Obviously, you're not always gonna be fine, but if you really are in a place where you're gonna be fine, you can allow yourself to think that. And also, sometimes there's just like no reason to feel ashamed or guilty for some things. Sometimes you can just do whatever you want and no one even cares, and you don't have to feel guilty for not growing. You can just, sometimes you cannot force things, sometimes you just have to let them develop organically. And that applies to a lot of things I just noticed, but yeah. It's a lesson we learn time and time again. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have forgotten all of this in like a month and I'm in another slump. But as long as I find that, realization time and time again, I'm gonna be fine. So thank you for watching once again. I'm gonna see you in another video. I don't know what this is gonna be. I'm just gonna do whatever I want because I can. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you could relate somehow to my future me. If you're watching this, I hope you're happy wherever you're at, and I hope you're fine. And I hope you are not feeling guilty of art or writing. Yeah, so goodbye team. It was nice having you here. See you later. Ja?